Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at this, the Parcil Safety ST100X with PD1 filter. So let's get to it.
Now, before we get started, I want to mention that this was sent to the channel for me to be able to test out and review for you guys by Parcil Safety, and I do have a lot of experience wearing a full face mask respirator similar to this with the previous company that I worked for a significant amount of time. So just about every single day I wore a respirator with different filters and different canisters on it. So I do feel like I have some knowledge on the topic, and I want to share that knowledge with you. Now, I do want to also let you know that they did give me a discount code, which is Daily Shooter. I have a link down in the description that you guys can check out, and that will save you 25% on these respirators. So you guys can check that out. As a matter of fact, I believe it's 25% off anything from their website. But they have full face, half face, and different canisters and cartridges that you can choose from. So a bunch of different stuff over there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the ST100X and exactly what it offers. Now, the first thing I want to mention is that obviously the ST100X is a full face respirator. They have full face and half face. Now, half face respirator will definitely keep, chemical and biological vapors, depending on what filter or canister you're using, from getting into your lungs. But that leaves open your eyes. And with your eyes, obviously, you have a conduit to your bloodstream. And so if you have chemical or biological vapors that are allowed to get to your eyes, that can be just as bad in some cases as breathing it in. So this gives you the added benefit of keeping those vapors away from your eyes. So a full face respirator is definitely the one that I would go with, unless you're just working with, like paint fumes and stuff like that. Maybe you're a painter, you're working inside the house, you're working with rollers, or maybe a spray gun, in which case, just something to protect your eyes from splatter would be just enough. Now, there's three really important things you want to keep in mind when it comes to a full face mask, a full face respirator like this, and that is seal, fitment, and filter. Okay, those are the things that you really want to pay attention to. All of this other stuff is like additional benefits, right? So the first thing that you want to pay attention to is the seal. How does it seal around your face? It has to seal completely. For instance, me, I have a beard. It's a pretty full beard. And so when I put this on, that creates, while still a very small gap, it does create a gap at the bottom of the seal right there. I don't get a perfect seal around my chin. In order to get a perfect seal, I have to be clean shaven. So I would have to basically clean anywhere where this seal on the back right here is going to touch my face. So you want to make sure that you pull all of your hair out of the way, that you have your sideburns trimmed up high enough where the side of the face mask is going to give you that perfect seal so that nothing is going to be allowed in. The next thing is going to be fitment, tightening it down in the right way so that if you move your head left or right, up or down, it's not going to open up any vents or pockets that allow any of the outside air into your face. And so they have a lot of different straps here in order to make that as easy as possible. As you can see, we have 5 different attachment points for these straps. So you loosen up all the straps evenly, you put this thing on your face, you bring this back strap around, which actually has this nice, very soft, feels like a silicone material on the back right here. You put this around the back of your head, and then you evenly cinch down each one of these straps, which do lock into place. They just basically click almost like a scuba diving mask or a diving mask. You pull that, it's not going to allow it to come back out, and it gives you a nice seal. So you pull each one of them individually to make sure that you have the perfect seal all the way around the mask, and that's why there's 5 points on this, including this top one right here, which is going to keep it, steady and in place. So again, 5 points of attachment. That all kind of works together with fitment and seal, right? But then it comes to filtration. So a lot of people think when you get a mask like this, it's going to filter out everything. I'm going to put this on. It's got a nice big canister on it. I'm going to put this on and I'm going to be safe from whatever. And that's not always the case. You want to make sure that you read the filter that you're looking for. This is a PD1 filter, and a PD1 filter will filter out a lot of chemical agents. It'll filter out a lot of different things that you're going to run into on a daily basis, or things that you wouldn't expect to run into in an emergency. So if there's an emergency and maybe there's gas or there's other things that you need to make sure that you filter out so that you can breathe properly, the ND1 filter will work just fine. It'll work with paint, it'll work with dust and debris, and it'll work with organic vapors as well. So it's going to filter out those organic vapors as well. So it's a really good canister, and it gets most of the job done. There are other things like the NBC filter, which is nuclear, biological, and chemical. That is a much more like restrictive filter system that will basically filter out like nuclear particles, biological particles, and chemical particles. That's where you get the MBC from. This filter right here that they provide you with actually does have a list on the side of the filter that lets you know what chemicals this filter will stop. And so it's it's nice that they provide that there so that you don't run into anything that's not on that list thinking that you're good and you're not. As a matter of fact, I previously mentioned this in a different story, a different video, where I was working for a company. I was wearing a filter. I was going to pick up oil. We picked up oil and different chemicals from different major corporations and companies, and somebody was trying to sneak through some ammonia. So I had a filter on that would, protect me from any of the contaminants that were in the oil, because there's a lot of carcinogens in used oil, and so you want to be able to protect yourself from any vapors that might come off that. As I took off the top layer of oil as I was going down to get the rest of it, the top oil exposed industrial grade ammonia. My mask was not set up to filter out ammonia. So what happened was my face was down there. I sucked in, basically filtered out all of the oil, but then I sucked in a huge amount of ammonia, which knocked me out. And so that was a pretty big problem, and there was a lot that happened after that. But regardless, having the proper filter is extremely important, and they provide you with a pretty good one in the ND1 filter that they have here. So filtration obviously is very important, but picking the right filter is also, a very crucial thing. Now, you can see this hole that we have in the front here. This hole is actually for multiple purposes. One, it's going to allow air to escape. So you inhale, obviously your inhalation is going to go through the canister itself, and then as you exhale, it's got to come out somewhere, right? So it's going to come through this valve, but this valve is also a speaking valve, and it allows people around you to hear you, because if you were just to talk behind this right here, you're not going to be able to hear much at all. It's just going to muffle your voice completely. But with this, it's kind of like what I call like the Darth Vader port. It allows people to hear what's going on around you. Now, when you get yours, it's going to have this little protective film on it. Make sure that you take that off. That's just there to protect the it's like a polyglass material. It's a really nice material. It allows you to see really good. But this, you want to take that off and make sure that you leave that off as well. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple other features that I like about this particular mask, and why I think pretty much everybody should have at least one or two of these in their house. Now, the way that Parcil designed the ST100X is with a dome-shaped lens. And I can tell you that a dome-shaped lens is much better than flat lens, where you get a lot of reflection, you get a lot of feedback from the glass itself, and it just makes for a better overall vision in any particular direction. So having that dome allows for a nice wide field of view. I can see left to right. I can look up and down. I am not completely blocked off by, different things in the mask that might distort light. And so I can see all the way around this face mask, and it just makes for a really good viewing surface. I gotta be honest, these things are not really all that expensive to begin with. You have the discount code, which will save you 25% off. But still, it's not very expensive to begin with, and so it's very easy to, hop over there, grab a couple of these for you, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, and just be prepared for whatever comes down the road. Grab a couple filters. These filters actually have a very long shelf life. I believe the shelf life on these is about 3 years, but try and keep in mind that's 3 years before they're opened. It's sort of like opening, meat, right? If the shelf life on this meat is a week, but I open up the package and I put it back in the refrigerator, the shelf life is more or less going to be like a day or two, right? Well, it's the same with the filter. Once you open up a filter and you allow air to start going through it, because it can filter out a certain amount of particulate and vapor through it. And as you're drawing air through it, whether it's, from you breathing in air or just moving it around the house, that's it. It has a specific amount that it can filter out, and that's the end of it. So it's good to have one at the ready, and don't open it yet. If you want to put one on there and just leave it on there and have, a couple extras, so if this just happened to be on the shelf for a year while it was open, you can grab an extra one and put that on. But, in the meantime, it should stay good for quite a while. But try and keep in mind, again, these do have a shelf life, and you want to keep the filter closed until you need it. That would be optimal for making it last as long as possible. And again, there's different filters and different ways you can attach filters to this mask, both left and right, cartridge or canister. Everything from simple dust around the house to heavier, you know, particulates and vapors as well. So it looks like a really nice mask. I've been wearing it for quite a while now, just to kind of test it out, and I like it a lot. It's one of the more comfortable ones that I've worn. You know, I had a choice which full face mask I would go with at the previous company that I worked for that I'm not going to name, but I had a choice of which mask to go with, and the mask that was very similar to this is the one that I chose, and it's basically for that long-term comfort. It's very easy to breathe through this. If you've never worn a mask before, you know that your respiration can get labored, meaning, you know, when you're running or you're walking fast or you're carrying heavy items or you're just working for a long period of time while wearing one of these, it can get kind of hard to breathe. But this one right here is not very restrictive at all. It's very comfortable. It's very easy to wear. The material that they use for the inside portion, so the mask portion on the inside that actually filters out your breathing, is very comfortable against your nose. The silicone is very comfortable against your face. It feels really nice. It's very soft, and it does provide a good seal where I don't have hair. And obviously my wife wears it. She gets a complete seal on it, and it's very comfortable for her as well. So I've worn this for, you know, a couple hours at a time just to see how it goes. As a matter of fact, I edited one of my videos while wearing this, and I thought it was great. It was very easy to put on, very easy to lock down, very easy to get into position. Now, there is just a little word of advice if you're somebody who's thinking about getting one of these. I would say that the first thing that you need to do is, number one, again, make sure your face is clear. But after you put it on, make sure that you have a good seal, and there's one way that you can do that. Before you put your filter on, which just basically screws into the front here. So you take your filter, it screws into the front right there. Put your face mask on. If this is the only hole that you have exposed right here, go ahead and put your hand flat over that hole and cover the entire thing, making a good seal with your hand, and try and breathe in. And while you're breathing in, feel if you can feel air coming from anywhere else. If you have your hand over this front piece right here while there's no filter on it and you still feel air coming through, that means that you have a leak somewhere and you need to make an adjustment on the mask, because it should basically just suck to your face and not allow anything to go through. Now, when you have this filter installed, as you can see here, this is the outlet for the clean air that's going to come through. This is the inlet for the exposed air that's going to go through the filtration system. This hole right here can still be covered. So if you have a filter on there, cover this hole at the bottom. It's a little bit more difficult, but cover that hole at the bottom and do the same thing. Breathe through it. You shouldn't be able to take a single breath through it. If you can, and if you can feel air coming from anywhere else, then something is not right and you want to make sure, because even the smallest amount of some types of chemical vapors that get through here can be a big problem. It can be a really big problem. So again, fitment, filtration, you know, those are very important parts. So you want to make sure that all of those are working together, combined, to make sure that nothing is getting in this mask unless it travels through this filter first. Now, a little hack that I learned, if you want to find out whether or not your canister is still working or if their canister is working for the first time, you got to find something that is covered by the filter that's in your house. A lot of household cleaning supplies have the chemicals that are in or are covered by this filter right here. And so when you get a lot of those chemicals that have that scent to them, you can actually put this on and then get those chemicals on a surface, you know, on a rag or something, whatever you'd use normally to clean, spray it on there, and then put it right here and see if you can smell anything. If you can smell something, it's getting through. For instance, like the ammonia, right? If I was to put ammonia in front of a filter that's not set up for ammonia, I'm going to smell that ammonia come right through that filter. And if you can smell it, it's not working. So that is kind of a hack to see whether or not your filter is working for a particular chemical, or if it just still has, you know, any filtration left in it. So I think a face mask like this, they're very important to have around. You never know what's going to happen, especially in this day and age. You know, just being able to grab something like this, throw on a canister for whatever you expect or don't expect to happen, throw that canister on, and now you're protected, breathing fresh air every single time. And I got to say, these Parcil safety masks are surprisingly nice. They're really nice. They're really comfortable. They work really well, and the filter seems to work really well as well. I've tested this thing out quite a bit, and I'm really happy with it. So again, check out the link down in the description box. Get yourself a full face mask and just kind of have that peace of mind in the house with you. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.